So I'm going to tell you a story about Bobby Hutton. Okay. This is Bobby Hutton. Okay. He's a young guy in these photos. Okay. He's a young guy in all of his photos. He was the first Black Panther, besides Bobby and Huey, the other Bobby, right? He was the first one. They recruited him because he worked in like the library, the books or they had like a community center that had a whole bunch of law books and stuff like that. And that's actually where Huey P. Newton did eventually go back to school and get a PhD in social psychology after the Black Panthers time period. But before that, he had gone to college at the Oakland Community College. That's where they had like some of these groups that they were forming or trying to form. But he didn't have any law training. So everything that he was telling people about, what's legal in terms of guns and stuff, he had learned from reading books. And little Bobby Hutton, as they called him, was one of the guys who worked there. Okay, he was 15 years old when they met him. And he was the first recruit the Black Panthers had. He was also the first treasurer. Okay. So on the 9th of April 6, 1968, 2 days after the murder of Martin Luther King, Black Panthers riding 3 cars transporting, listen to what they were doing, okay? They were transporting food and supplies for a barbecue picnic to be held in the Black community the next day. And they were ambushed by the police. Now, this is a footnote in the book. This is not in the original book. This is a footnote. So this is whoever the editor, Greg Newton, adding this in there of what happened to this guy, because he mentioned that Bobby Seale was the other person who founded the Black Panthers. So he would hang around Bobby Seale's house and read and talk for hours. And he was reading The Black Reconstruction in America by W.E.B. Du Bois at one time. So, and then there's a footnote, and it says that, he was in a car going to pick up supplies for a picnic, and he was ambushed by the police. Okay? In the shootout that followed, little Bobby Hutton and another Black Panther member. Okay, so the police ambushed these guys. Now, this is why it's kind of interesting when we have things like, George Floyd, these are the reasons why the Black community or even other communities of color are afraid of the cops, because they do think, there's a history of them doing things like this. Okay, so they were with another Black Party member named Eldridge Cleaver, who was actually a pretty interesting character himself. I kind of see myself in him a lot, and at least in the way that he's described. So both of these guys, they were trapped, and then eventually they were trapped by the police in a basement of a house on 28th Street in Oakland. Okay, so the police are surrounding the house. They have no reason to be doing this. They had never any reason to chase them in the beginning. They had never any reason to ambush them in the beginning. Okay, the police fired on the house with rifles, pistols, gunshots, tear gas, and fire bombs for nearly 90 minutes. This is in 1968, right? My mother was, 10 years old at this time, right? Okay. They fired on the house with rifles, pistols, shotguns, tear gas, and fire bombs for 90 minutes, okay? 90 minutes. Like, man, where did they get the ammunition for that? Right? And then after which, little Bobby came outside with his hands up, and in cold blood, the police shot him dead in the streets. Okay, there's no trial, there's no whole due process, there's nothing. Okay, and he was 17 years old. Right?